Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name won't start changing your ways.
I mean, let's get started here.
The Israeli Prime Minister has called for calm after demonstrators, including far-right politicians, forced their way into two military bases. Benjamin Netanyahu said he strongly condemned the disturbances. The protesters were angered by the arrest of soldiers accused of severely abusing a Palestinian detainee. Israeli media reports suggest the Palestinian prisoner had been sexually assaulted by the reservists. Israel denies allegations by human rights groups that suspected Hamas fighters suffer systematic abuse in detention. We're going now live to Jerusalem to speak to our Middle East correspondent, Yolande Nell. Yolande, we've heard about these 9 soldiers that have been detained, soldiers who are working in the Sde Teiman detention center. Can you tell us more?
Well, we saw those rowdy and chaotic scenes at the detention center. It's a camp for Palestinians who have been picked up during the course of the Gaza war. And it's really become quite notorious with Israeli rights groups, international media, including the BBC, investigating what's happening there. We've been hearing in recent months how Palestinian detainees are routinely shackled to hospital beds. They've been kept blindfolded and kept even wearing nappies. And really, when the news broke that these soldiers had been detained for questioning for the sexual assault of a detainee believed to be a member of Hamas. We're told, according to Israeli media reports, that he had been left unable to walk. Well, crowds gathered
Anally sodomized until he needed hospital treatment on his ripped and torn anus. I mean, do you know how we treated Nazis in World War II when they surrendered to Americans? We gave them a fucking steak. Israelis raping Palestinians is far worse than any Nazi was ever treated.
Outside the military base, and then what we saw was actually some of those protesters breaking in as Israeli military investigators arrived at the site. Later on, they broke in to a second military base where there's a military court, and really, you know, that's got the Israeli military chief of staff denouncing all of this, calling this unlawful anarchy. We've had the Israeli Prime Minister and other figures denouncing it, but you also have a prominent member of Israel's hardline government, the cabinet minister dsaL Smotrich, who is from the far right, and of course, as you said, there were far right members of parliament who were among those who broke in at the site. Well, dsaL Smotrich said on social media that the soldiers who had been detained should be treated as heroes, not criminals.
And Yolande, what does this tell us about divisions within Israel, not just between government members, but between, you know, different groups within Israel, and also within the international community over pressure about how Israel is conducting itself in Gaza?
Yeah, I mean, so really what we see here are the very partisan divisions that are on display in Israel at the moment, particularly with this hardline government in place. The Israeli Prime Minister relies on the support of these far-right ultra-nationalist parties. He couldn't remain in power without them, and that has really fed into some of the political divisions, the social divisions that already existed within the country. And then on top of that, yes, you know, this other dimension, Israel is currently facing cases before international courts. It's accused of war crimes, a lot of accusations over its conduct of the war in Gaza, international pressure. It strongly denies those accusations of war crimes, and yet, you know, the Israeli...
It strongly denies accusation of war crimes. Yes, its soldiers are anally raping prisoners, and when they're arrested, riotous mobs try to free them, saying they have the right to rape.
Military always says it independently investigates any cases of wrongdoing, of alleged abuse that come to light, and it deals with them accordingly. What you have here...
An Israeli MK, member of parliament from Likud, Netanyahu's party, stated that it's legitimate to rape Palestinian detainees in Israeli prisons. These are not fringe politicians. These are from the ruling party whose leader was given a hero's welcome in the U.S. Congress a few days ago. I don't know if you know, but there is an incident right now in Sde Teiman.
אני לא יודע אם יודעים, אבל יש אירוע כרגע בשדה תימן שמשטרה צבאית הגיעו לעצור חיילים ששמרו על מחבלי נוח'בה. והחיילים בשדה תימן, מתקן מעצר של מחבלי נוח'בה, ומשטרה צבאית שם הגיעה לעצור כמה לוחמים שם שכנראה בגלל איזשהם טענות של יחס למחבלי נוח'בה, ויש שם אירוע של התבצרות וכולי. הטרלול שהמדינה שלנו נכנסת אליו סביב הסיפור הזה הוא מטורף וצריך להפסיק אותו. ואני חושב שצריך פה לתת דוגמה אישית, ואני אומר עכשיו, ואני קורא לחברי הקואליציה לעשות כמוני, אני קם,
I'm getting up and leaving here. Wait. And I say now, I'm getting up and leaving here, and I'm not going to vote on anything anymore until this story and this insanity, and that there's someone in the prosecutor's office who thinks that it's possible to come and arrest soldiers for things they're doing to Nakba terrorists. It's not over.
לא נגמר. אוקיי?
And I'm really asking, I think my coalition's friends will do well if they do the same as I do. We cannot continue as usual. To insert a stick into a person's rectum, is that legitimate? Shut up, yes. If he's a Nakba, anything is legitimate to do. Everything. That's all I wanted to know. Do you know what these people did? Basta? Never mind. Here are things you don't do. They're literally saying we should be able to anally rape. Now, guys, were these guys convicted as terrorists under a properly constituted court, were given the opportunity to defend themselves in a court of law and given a just punishment? No, they were randomly scooped off the streets in Gaza and anally raped. And even if they were Nazis, it wouldn't be justified to anally rape and torture them. Even if they were the worst of the worst, you don't torture people. And they're not torturing them for information. They're torturing them to torture them for pleasure. This is what Israel is. And this is where your tax dollars, and by the way, people are saying we should endorse somebody named Josh Shapiro for vice president, who called the people protesting this the same as the KKK. It's like if the KKK went to protest black communities, is what he said.
Is Israeli ministers even apparently undermining the Israeli military procedures?
Yolande, thank you as ever for updating us from Jerusalem there. Benjamin Netanyahu says his country will deliver a severe response to the missile strike on the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. The attack on Saturday struck a soccer field in the town of Mejdel Shams.
Oh, okay. So they want their soldiers to sexually abuse prisoners? Disgusting behavior from these people. Guys, why so broad with the titles? The abuse was rape. The reason why is because they'll make up stories about mass rapes, but when you have actual forensic evidence of rapes happening, it's covered up. Is it covered in CNN? Is this being covered in CNN? I wonder. That was a pathetic story at the BBC. Suddenly, I don't see it. It's so weird. Venezuela strongman. You know, I'm missing this story. That's so odd. I wonder why it's not being reported. It's been said that Israel spies on the ICC, and only when they think the ICC is going to bring charges do they then rush to prosecute in their own courts the soldiers that are being investigated, so that they can argue complementarity, but that they don't actually investigate any reports of crimes. And this is the alternative, chat. You know, This is the reality that we're living in. This is the reality that we're living in. Now Israel wants to expand the war into Lebanon. Death to Arabs is what they're chanting. Far-right Israeli politicians are reported to be among the protesters. 9 soldiers were detained over substantial abuse of a Palestinian prisoner. Injuries showed signs of sexual assault.
You know, it happens.
You know what happens. It shouldn't happen.
I won't say it's a good thing, but I think that this country that wants to live, we need to punish this terrorist more.
In the middle of a war, you're dealing with starting to interrogate soldiers in the middle of a war. That's wrong.
If they touch.
By the way, that's just insane. This is just insane. Soldiers have to maintain discipline and law and order because that's what separates an army from a mob. An army has professional rules of conduct and laws in a democracy that it follows and respects. Otherwise, you have unaccountable people with weapons using force. Are you stupid? I mean, obviously you are. A whole country of these genocidal hogs and people will turn a blind eye and maintain support. Because the answer is, if you want to know why, is because there's nobody that's going to punish them for it. If you oppose Israel, you will be punished and attacked personally. Your family will be attacked. Is that worth it for you? Do you want to lose jobs? Do you want to be slandered as an anti-Semite, as a bigot? Do you want people to put a cloud over your name that other people don't want to associate with you because they're worried about the controversy that you bring? That is the situation that we're in, is that there is an organized fascist movement in America called Zionism, and they go out of their way to target their enemies in a highly organized fashion. That's the reality of why things are the way they are. And if you're not willing to sacrifice to keep these people out of power, that they will dominate us, and they are.
Our soldiers will build a shield wall. The people will rise up against the government, be it left or right or whatever. Nobody can touch our soldiers.
We lived hungry and they prevented us from eating. Only one piece of bread for dinner, one piece. He used the most severe punishment on us. And we were tied up 24 hours a day. The blindfold over our eyes. Campaigners say at least 12 Palestinians have died from abuse in Israeli jails since October 7th. This is the disgusting fucking shit that we're dealing with.
No idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But you may want to start changing your ways. Change your ways. Or changing your name.